welcome to Take Human Action PA, episode 29, special holiday happy hour edition. How you doing, Regina?
Hi, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. So we've got a very special returning guest tonight. So before we go any further, I want to bring him on. And a former host as well, and our current LPPA Secretary, Greg Deal. How are you doing?
Not bad, Calvin. How are we doing?
Oh, good. So
Yeah.
I figured before we start, we can throw some things in to make it a little more fun. And I'll steal a page from our some of the meetings that we've been having recently. So I will say that we need to all interject with our points of personal privilege every single time we start a new drink. So I will start it off. I'm having the Warka Classic Polish beer tonight. That's what I'm starting off with. Greg, why don't you tell us what you got?
Sure. I'm currently drinking a Yards Brewing General Washington's Porter. It's one of the best porters I've ever had. It's incredibly balanced, well done beer.
All right, shout out to Yards. They're not too far from me. And then Regina, what do you got?
I have a hot toddy that's heavy on the maker's mark because I'm a little under the weather. But the fun thing about hot toddies is that they're so good they make you wish you were sick, even if you're not.
There you go. I like it. Okay, so feel free to interject with your points of personal privilege later on if you crack another one open. I figure we could take the opportunity to do a recap of 2022, both with U.S. world events as well as stuff that's been happening in the party. So we can really take it whatever direction we want. Kind of keep it open-ended and fun. So let's start off with something big that happened like to you or within the party in the past year. So I'll start. I think we've made a lot of progress with organizing in the caucus. So we've got a lot more organizers now than we had at the beginning of the year. We had a lot of turnover too, with losing people to join the officers for the LPPA. So a lot of turnover there too. We had, in fact, I think there's maybe only 2 or 3 people that were organizers at the beginning of the year that are still organizers. And now we have a team of at least, 11 or 12 people. So we've definitely grown a lot from that. And I'm really happy with what we've grown into. I'm looking forward to the progress that we're going to be making with that.
I have a quick question. Regina, what's that cat's name?
Sure.
I was going to say, we have a special guest. This is Sootball.
Sootball. I love it.
Awesome. So Greg, what about you?
Well, some of the biggest things, 2 of the biggest things for me was obviously becoming secretary and getting that reorganized and up and running. And I think probably my favorite part of the entire year was the 2022 Reno convention. I had a blast out there with working with you, Calvin, and Rob and John, and getting everything taken care of. It was really fun to see. It was a great experience, and I'll carry that with me for a long time.
Yeah, it was definitely a handful to manage at times. We had the 3rd largest state delegation. So a lot of people to whip into shape there, making sure that they all got their votes in on time and everything. But in the end, I think we were still, especially for our size, one of the best organized.
Yeah, I was quite pleased. It was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Actually, I ruined with Torrin. Unfortunately, he can't make it out tonight. I know he was under the weather, but that was a lot of fun. We had a really good time.
Yeah, and we are expecting Rob Coburn to join us a little later once he wraps up with work. So hopefully we'll be able to have him come on later on to recap with us. So Regina, what about you?
Well, I kind of came into the party halfway through the year, but I kind of went 0 to 60 with just kind of showing up and representing the Psychedelic Club of Pittsburgh at the Whiskey Rebellion, to now being issue coalition chair for the LPPA. That was kind of big and unexpected, and we kind of like a mini announcement, but I was really proud of Issue Coalition and legislation team of the LPPA came together, and we actually presented to Pittsburgh City Council the entheogenic plant policy, and it would essentially decriminalize and allow home grow for all psychedelic plant medicines. So we met with them. They are open to it, which is not a no, so I'll take it. They said it's going to be a hard sell, but we're putting something together. We're going to kind of bring a lot of the education and the hard facts like they're asking for, and really kind of hoping to move the needle forward in 2023. I'm really excited to see this pet project grow.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited about that too. And we just we have our call to human action ongoing as well. So we've been sending out the survey to all of our members to try to gauge how many of them we're getting to come out to the next convention and how many people are looking to get more involved. So the two of you in particular and a couple others, I just sent out a list of names of people who are looking to get more involved there. And, there's some great potential to double or even triple the amount of like campaign volunteers and everything else that we had compared to this past year in 2022, which was already a record. So things are looking really good as we go into the next year.
And that's such a key. We're an all volunteer organization, right? So those volunteers and people who are willing to step up and take the reins of something and run with it it means so much. It's so incredible. Reworking the whole committee structure and doing that earlier the year, I realized how few people we actually had active. Now we've gained quite a bit, but we still have a long way to go. And seeing people that are interested in helping out, even in small ways here and there, it means a great deal.
Yeah, for sure. So I got more questions that I've got in mind, but if you guys have some questions that you want to throw out to the group, then feel free. It doesn't have to be now; it can be later too.
Right.
But I'll throw out something else. So, kind of going off of the previous question, but with a little bit of a twist. What was a particularly big challenge within like the party in the past year that you overcame or had a hand in overcoming, and how did you what was the problem, and how did you go about achieving a completion of whatever it was and moving past it?
All right. Well, I guess I'll start because I have quite a few. Number one, when I stepped into the role of secretary, there was zero documentation other than the past minutes for the past couple months previous to that. So we didn't have any type of organization structure, anything like that. So I've been working on developing SOPs and centralizing documents for us to be able to keep and look a little more professional. Also working with bylaws to try to clean those up. There's some really exciting stuff coming out very soon. You might have that actually ready for Christmas Day, an actual full bylaws, new bylaws. So, and I had a small hand in that. So it's been a challenge to get everything organized, but I think we're on the right track there finally, and we actually have a little bit of structure that we're building upon now.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely inherited a very different situation than would have been ideal back in March and to an extent in May as well. But I think we've done a lot to overcome that. Do you have something in mind, Regina?
Not really. I mean, it was just kind of like I was saying earlier, I kind of went from 0 to 60 where, I had been introduced to the libertarian ideals and kind of living them unconsciously without like knowing what the Libertarian Party was for so long. But for me, it was just kind of intimidating to be jumping in because like I've never done anything with local politics, and I was lucky enough to help out Ross, who was running in the district near me, and just like going out and using, like you said, like it's all volunteer work and using that free time, and it was really rewarding, but it was also just challenging in like a time management because like I helped the club with doing some things with communications there. I have a full-time job. I have a couple of different projects. I'm also a pro wrestler, so like trying to juggle all these hats and make sure I'm wearing them on straight is a little tricky at times. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. It's been really challenging me, but it's also been really rewarding to kind of see where my limits are and then go past them. So it's been a fun challenge to kind of jump feet first into the party.
Nice.
Yeah,
Regina,
sure.
you brought me two questions there. Number one, what made you jump into the party and go from 0 to 60 right away? Was there a key moment or a key person or a key thing?
For me, it was, so I got introduced to the party at the beginning of the pandemic, and I also discovered psychedelics at the beginning of the pandemic. And I think it was sort of the combination of the two. And, I think everybody can relate no matter like where you were or, like what, for the people who knew it was a psyop and some of us who didn't know what a psyop was, we still were in this, like, what is going on, where it's like, go home from your jobs. Like your kids are going home from school. Like, we don't know what this might be, spring break. This might be longer than that. Like no one knew what was going on. So I think everybody was just kind of in this vulnerable period, but it just really started making me reevaluate things, the combo of, like I said, like psychedelics and, I live alone. So to be like completely isolated with yourself and then doing all this internal conscious work, it was kind of the perfect storm for me. And it just really made me realize how much I didn't know and understand when I thought I did. So it was really a humbling experience. But yeah, I just kind of started noticing things like, this is probably like really shocking to a lot of people, but I used to be very far left. I was the cringe, blue-haired, like I was everything that we kind of hated. And that just all got stripped away. And I realized that wasn't who I was. And that wasn't what I really believed. And, yeah, just the party has been some of the most open-armed, accepting people. I can have tough conversations with them about really touchy subjects, and it doesn't end in somebody, saying like, well, you're a racist or you're a Nazi or anything like that. We're just like grown adults having a conversation. I have to say, I've never had that. I have friends on both sides of the political spectrum, and it doesn't always end that way.
I love that. And now you have to tell me a little bit more about your wrestling. I need to hear about this.
Very short. I don't want this to be the whole topic, but I do pro wrestle in the Pittsburgh area under the guise of Honey Badger. So if you're into indie Pittsburgh wrestling, you can find me there. I have some shows going on there in West Virginia this coming year, and a couple in Ohio actually too. I forgot I have some scheduled for Ohio.
I'm right up the road from you.
I bet she would have given us more juicy details if we'd like waited another like 30 minutes until we had a few more drinks in our system.
Yeah.
We may have to, pound on that hot toddies, and I may have to ask that question again later. Yeah, because like I said, I'm right up the road from you. I'm right in Saxonburg, so I'm just 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, you need to do like an exhibition show in Philly or something.
I would love that. I've wrestled in Philly a couple of times. They've always been great shows. I'll definitely wrestle.
All right. Well, let us know. I'll make sure to
somebody out there knows a wrestling promoter. Somebody book it and message me. We'll put it together.
I love it. Hey, go ahead. I'm going to grab another one for a point of personal privilege here.
Only if you say what it is. All right. So I'll get my answer then. So I think the hardest part for me was coming into it with some experience under my belt, as far as like having the previous just over a year being an organizer at the beginning of this year. But then with all the turnover, like almost out of the blue, I just became like the last person left who was on the organizer team and had been there longer than like a year. Like everybody else had been there like 6 months or sometimes a good bit less than that. So I went from being like one of a team of like 3 or so equally experienced people to, you know, the last person left, trying to bring in new people to fill in for the ones we'd lost, but also being in a position of essentially having to, you know, be a mentor of sorts, because the, you know, a lot of them were not just completely new to the caucus, but new to the party. So figuring out the best way to do that was certainly a struggle at first. I tried a bunch of different ways of trying to do that before I finally settled on something, their current structure of like dividing up the responsibilities that and the roles that seem to make a lot more sense now than our old way of doing it. And it seems to streamline everything a lot better too. So then, you know, every single person doesn't have to follow up with every other person on a team with like 12. That's nearly impossible. But when you divide it up that way, and, you know, you only have to, at least on a regular basis, be in contact with a small number of people, makes it a lot more manageable, and you just get a lot more streamlined that way. And took some time to figure out, but I think we're getting there now.
And Calvin, I'll say, actually seeing the work that you've done, especially leading up to and including the Reno convention, you were the most organized damn person I've ever seen. You were on top of everything, and your attention to detail was absolutely incredible, and it helped that delegation, and it's helped the Pennsylvania Mises Caucus out tremendously. So I appreciate you, Calvin. Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate the kind words, Greg. I've said this to a couple of people recently, but I don't always get feedback on some of the stuff that we're working on. So it's, you know, negative or positive. It is nice to just hear something once in a while. I know if we're on the right track. But I'm curious for your perspective, Regina, being on the complete opposite side of things in the sense of being more new and coming in and seeing, like, you know, you're getting a sense of the organization now that we're a little more put together, but maybe you see, like, either in a good way or a bad way, some of the areas that, you know, we bring in and train a new person and try to get them acquainted with the party and the caucus and everything that they need to do. So how was that for you coming in?
I personally was really impressed because, again, like, I mean, I've never been as involved with local politics, you know, other than before when I would just scream on the internet about it and not actually like do anything to help it. So I was really impressed with not only the outreach, like from you, like I have to kind of second what Greg said. And like, I really appreciate from being inside the party now that you follow up with me and you kind of keep me on track. Like I can't tell you as somebody with, again, like a lot of projects, still kind of figuring all this out. Like just having someone to go, hey, what are you working on? Or, hey, what's the update with this? Like that goes so far. So like, I have to say thank you for that. But yeah, I'm just really impressed with the communication within the party. You know, I know we joke about our 9 million signal chats, but like as somebody whose brain works, the more division, the more subcategories, like that's a godsend to me. I'm like, please, like add me to every signal chat so that it keeps my brain organized.
Be careful what you wish for, because I probably actually do have 75 or something crazy like that I'm in. I'm not even exaggerating either.
Yeah, I have to periodically go through and delete them. Yep.
I believe it.
Yeah, because so there has to be somebody who just like lets a new person into like whatever chats they need to be in. So that means like one person has to be in all of them, and that unfortunately is me. So anytime a person sends a message in any chat, then I automatically
yeah, I'm somebody too whose brain, like when they see a notification, it's like you have to address that now or else like I can't focus on the next thing. So sometimes I'll open my phone after a while because I will like periodically put my phone on airplane mode just to get other projects done, or like during like my day job and stuff. And when I turn it on and it's like 695 notifications, I'm just like, okay. How many of these are just memes and how many are actually like important information and dates and meetings that I have to make sure I have in my calendar?
Yeah, well, I will say all but like 5 or 10 of them are muted 24/7, so that does help.
All right, so my point of
5 or 10,
go ahead.
What do you got?
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, for my point of personal privilege, I am drinking a local Hitchhiker RGB triple IPA. So from, I believe they're right there in Sharpsburg, an incredible brewery.
Nice. So yeah, and of the ones I don't have muted, they're like small groups, and that's intentional, because otherwise, yeah, I would wake up to 600 messages or something. Yeah, it's not gonna work out very well. Oh man, well, it's good to hear. I'm glad that I'm not, and I'm not just saying sake of making a pun. I actually do say this. I'm glad I'm not badgering you too much, because I do worry about that sometimes. It's like, oh,
no,
am I bugging them?
No, please do, because my ADHD, like my brain, just I have a million things going on. So every little reminder is like a godsend. It's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I did keep my promise. I would bug you and BJ and Autumn incessantly, and I think I've been doing that for the most part. What else was I gonna say? In the past year of things that happened in the U.S. or to the U.S., what was the, I don't know, what was the thing that happened that really surprised you? Like if I had asked you on January 1st, oh, do you think this is going to happen in 2022? You would have said, no way, that's never going to happen. So what current event surprised you the most?
You know, maybe I'm just so skeptical and pessimistic at this point. I'm not surprised by anything. They could, like, the United States government could literally come out and say that they're actually lizard people, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many things that happen on such a random basis that it's hard to keep track all the time. But I think that probably the whole right now, like the most current thing to me is like the whole Twitter handling of and with Elon Musk and dropping all that information. I never would have actually expected him to do that. I'm happy that he has, and it's kind of fun to read and watch and learn. But that's probably the most surprising on the positive end for me.
Mm-hmm. All right, Regina, do you have one?
I'm kind of on the same vibe. I'm shocked that Elon has been like I didn't put it past them, because part of Elon's charm for me for a long time was not only, does he use his autism for good and like is doing amazing things, he has such a gesture quality to him. Like, just he's always been memeing, he's always been kind of like tongue in cheek. But for him to kind of take a more serious kind of turn, and I think he said like he was absolutely voting Republican like this election or something like that. Like he really took that sharp turn of, it just went from like, oh yeah, I'm just a billionaire who's like a genius and makes cool shit, to like now he's right in the middle of it. Like, I'm so scared for Elon. Every fucking day I'm scared that we're gonna hear Elon Epstein himself. Like, I am always terrified, especially he released all that Hunter Biden stuff. Every day I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill him. Like, he's going to have to go to Mars because they're going to kill him if he doesn't. That was pretty shocking. The whole Bitcoin thing going on right now with SBF.
Is it FTX?
Yeah, FTX. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Sam. I can't remember the
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
SBF.
Yeah. I'm watching that very closely because everybody's focused on, I feel like, the whole like Bitcoin's a scam piece of it, but I think it's going to be more interesting to see how this unfolds, because I feel like we're starting to get to a point, unless you completely have your head buried in the sand or you are in such a deep, deep denial, that I feel like we're at a point with misinformation where when it's so blatantly obvious that it's going to be very hard for the media to keep pushing certain things on us, because I just feel like everybody's starting to be like, this is obviously what it is, even though we're not saying it out loud. And this whole funneling money into like the Democratic Party and now like this whole scandal, I feel like we're on the precipice of like something where we're going to really start to, I feel like we're opening a Pandora's box and all those worms are going to crawl out and we're going to really start to see how much corruption. And that's my only part of social media and technology these days, is you can't get away with anything. You can't get away with anything. Somebody's always recording you. There is like a digital footprint. Like, as bad as that is, it's also good in this sense when it's dealing with, government corruption. But I am keeping a close eye on that. I hope that doesn't get swept under the rug with, the next big news story. But those are kind of the big things for me.
Yeah, I was just checking the episode number where we talked about that. Episode 25, we did a big breakdown on the whole FTX scandal. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, so I'm definitely keeping an eye on those things too, as I'm very excited to see what happens with Elon Musk. And I don't know, I've wavered on the whole FTX thing. Like, was it as I don't know, did he just so happen to be left oriented, so he happened to push for regulation, or is it a complete coincidence that he had this big company and happened to be oriented in that direction? I don't know, because it just seems like to me like he's the exception. Just about everybody else who's actually at the head of a crypto industry is not like marching into Congress saying we need to regulate this stuff. They're not doing that. So why was he the only one that was doing that? That is suspicious. I'll give it that. But to go back to my answer for this question, the thing that surprised me the most, I'll be honest, was Russia-Ukraine. Because I had been reading history left and right. I'm very well versed in history in general. And I was so convinced of mutually assured destruction that I never thought that there would be wars, like full-scale wars with any nuclear powers. Not that Ukraine currently has nukes, but in case you weren't aware, at the end of the Cold War, when Ukraine and the other former Soviet republics broke off, so in Ukraine's case, basically they made an agreement where they would keep, they made an agreement with Russia where they would basically keep the borders that they had, and they would not join an alliance with the Western powers, but Russia would guarantee their territorial sovereignty and Ukraine would remove their nukes, because the Soviet Union had nukes in what is now Ukraine. But, obviously they wouldn't have been in the hands of the Russian government anymore. So they just agreed to remove them. So now they don't have nukes anymore. But now they are invaded. And they've been fighting a war for almost a year. And despite that, I was so very much convinced that any full-scale war with a nuclear power would just end in complete destruction for both sides. And then that would be the end of it. So there was no point. So that seems to have been wrong. I may not be wrong in terms of how it ends ultimately, but I hope I am. I hope it doesn't come down to nukes. I really hope it doesn't. But I still think it won't. It's more than likely that it won't. But I do have my concerns.
Captain, what do you think it will come down to?
In terms of whether or not nukes are used?
Well, in terms of how's it going to end? How do you see it resolving?
I think that's similar to asking the question of when the economy is going to collapse. Like if you're, it's pretty much a given to say like, oh, a recession will happen, but to say like when it's going to happen, it's not really possible to predict, because that's dependent on the Fed. If the Fed wants to keep lowering interest rates to like -5% or something, then there's not going to be a recession for a really long time. The recession that happens after that will be much worse, but you can keep an economy going or an artificial boom for a long time if the Fed continues to lower interest rates ad nauseum. So that's why you can't really predict when a recession is going to happen. I think this is very similar. The war can keep going forever as long as the U.S. supplies them weapons and Russia can somehow scrape together museum tanks long enough to continue fighting the war. Once Russia is completely out of weapons or the U.S. stops funding Ukraine, then the war will end. I don't think it'll end any other way, because they already tried to come to an accord, but the U.S. basically forced them not to, so they continue to fight. So I don't think a peaceful resolution is likely outside of one of them being at the exhaustion of their resources, which could take another year or more to happen at the rate this is going.
See, what's funny is I saw it the opposite way with the whole, because our economy is obviously tanking, and you know what's great for the economy? War. So I was like, oh, we're absolutely getting involved. Like, it doesn't, like, one way or another, we're getting involved. So I was on a little bit of the opposite spectrum there, just because I was like, oh, what could possibly save the economy? Oh, war.
No, I don't think the U.S. is going to get directly involved in terms of boots on the ground, because they're not going to be that stupid to give him an excuse to nuke us. I don't think even the U.S. government would be that stupid. So they might continue to fund them indefinitely. It could end up being like, I don't know, $3 trillion or something by the time we're done. But I don't think that they're going to put boots on the ground. Not unless Russia, it starts to invade a NATO country or something.
Yeah, so here's my thing. I think we already actually have boots on the ground. I think there are specialized. I think there are specialized military groups that are in parts of the Ukraine and in parts of Russia as we speak. I have no doubt in my mind.
It's possible. I just don't think they're going to be blatant about it. They're at least going to try.
Oh no, they won't be. They won't be blatant about it. I mean, we have troops, groups all over in just about every single country in the world, somewhere doing something. But yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that we don't have specialized groups in both the countries as we currently speak.
Yeah. Well, we're about to go into the completion of the first year of the conflict. So I guess we'll see what happens in year 2. So as I understand it, Russia has essentially been waiting for the winter weather to come, because then the rainy season of the Ukrainian plains, which bogs down all the tanks in mud, turns into almost like a frozen steppe. So they can actually move their tanks across that. Even if it is cold, they actually have a possibility of doing offensive operations at that point. Whereas previously, except for like small scale missions, it was virtually impossible, at least with any heavy equipment. But now there could actually be some action. So we'll see what happens. So keep an eye out for that over the next 3 or 4 months while the winter weather continues.
Excellent. Now here's a random question. Do either of you have a prediction for something big that's going to happen in 2023?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Do you have one in mind since you brought it up?
Well, I can tell you this: the Philadelphia Flyers will not win a Stanley Cup. I can guarantee
that.
That's pretty brutal. Oof.
I'm staying out of that one. That's that war right there is more nuclear than what's going on in the Ukraine. I'm staying out of that one.
Okay. I think that there's going to be some excuse that they'll come up with, or something that's more blatant that will prevent Biden from running again. Like, he says he's announcing now, but something's going to happen between now and the end of next year that will make it so that he's not actually running anymore.
Interesting.
I'll make that my prediction.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I would think that, I have a feeling that we're going to end up in some type of other conflict somewhere else in the world, whether it be to take eyes off of specific things happening in the political world or not. I think we're going to end up somewhere else. I'm not sure where yet, but I think we're going to have military forces somewhere else where we shouldn't be.
Well, I certainly hope not, but I guess we'll see soon enough. Regina?
I hope TikTok is banned in the US in 2023. I saw a post today. This is the most perfect way to phrase this. TikTok is digital fentanyl. Like, it is poisoning and moving at such a rapid rate. I know there's talk about it, and a lot of the time if Congress talks about it, they don't actually do anything about it. There's talk about them banning TikTok in the US, and I certainly hope so. Like, I understand you all love your dances and you love your videos of like white women organizing stuff in their refrigerator. I know that like does it for some of you, but it is not worth like the Chinese communist propaganda. Like, please get that thing off of your phone right now. Joe Rogan had a episode where he went into the terms of service, and this is actually what made me get rid of TikTok, because like I had it and I didn't really post on it. It was mostly just like I used to be a makeup artist, so like I mostly just posted like makeup and stuff like that. And when I found out and basically fact checked Rogan, that they can not only obviously get all the information on the phone that you download it on, but any device that shares that IP address, which for everyone is going to be their home Wi-Fi, it can go onto all of your devices essentially and grab your data. I was like, that's an overreach. Like I've been trying to slowly get off of social media, which is really hard, like being like involved in the party and involved in like other things that where like social media is a gift for marketing. It's free. Like, it's the best free marketing gift we've ever been given. But it is like, it's such a duality for me where I'm like, oh my God, like I need to get off of this stuff. I need to not have it connected. So I really hope to see TikTok starting to get banned, because that stuff is poison. It's absolute poison. And I fell for it. I fell for the poison. I know how good it works.
You don't want to see the videos of dancing nurses in COVID wards, or, the military coming up with its newest routines.
Every time I see someone in like public doing a TikTok dance, which I have seen like in various places, I'm like, we're done. This is it. Like, this is the low point of humanity, where like we've come so far and at the same time not far at all when we're doing stupid dances for this nightmare brick that we carry in our back pocket. Like, it can do so much good, but instead we're publicly like creating scenarios. Like, that's the part that scares me, is people are so desperate for this Pavlovian likes and views and shares, and then now you got like the monetary aspect where kids are like, oh, I want to be an influencer when I grow up, which is the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. It's so scary. Like, it's funny to talk about, but it's also terrifying that like it's helping us to unplug more. It's helping us to just like, there's nothing productive comes out of that goddamn app. And it's just scary how it's like it grabbed onto everything that we love, and it just, there's something about TikTok that just how fast it accelerated and how widely it's used and referenced. Like, I just saw a commercial before we got started tonight where I feel like they're trying to almost backpedal and like make people think like, oh no, TikTok's not as bad. I saw a commercial, a TV commercial that like shows like, oh, here parents, like here's how you can limit their time on the app, and here's how you can limit who they can share it to. It's almost like that to me is, you know, like the asterisks at the bottom of the drug commercial. Like, by the way, like all this terrible shit can happen for this thing that's supposed to help you. So I'm just hoping the TikTok goes away, because I just feel like that one it's somehow different. Like obviously Facebook and Instagram are just as equally toxic, but I don't know. There's something about TikTok that I'm just like, oh, it grabs you so well that there's something different there.
I'd agree with that 100%. Like you open that app and next thing you know is 4 hours later, you've watched like 6,000 videos. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't have it on my phone anymore. I had it for like a week and I just got annoyed with it pretty quick, but here's a question for you guys. Both of you, what is the one accomplishment that you've both done personally this year that that you'd like to see continue through into 2023?
Calvin?
Okay. Well, I wouldn't say this applies so much to 2023, but to 2024, I'd definitely like to see it continue. And by that, I'm referring to Reno. Because to me, like that, and for those who might not be aware, that's a reference to the Libertarian National Convention that we just had in Reno this past May. So to some of the people that are newer, they might not be aware of how much work went into that. And I don't just mean like in the 6 months leading up to it, you know, that was a lot, but I mean in terms of, for me, it started back in, it's kind of funny. It started back in a pub in 2016 in South Philadelphia, where me and a group of my friends refounded the Libertarian Party of Philadelphia. So just like, you know, how, you know, liberty in this country got started in many ways, that's how the LP of Philadelphia got started there. And that was my first involvement in the party after years of dismissing it for being ineffective and directionless. I decided to give it a try. So I've been working at it since then, and shortly thereafter, that's when I met Mike and Luke and Jeff and some of the other people that were there, like really early on. And then first time I really got to know Mike was when we worked on the End the Fed rally in Philadelphia in 2017. And that was in September. And that was a big success. You had like a lot of big name speakers for the time, especially since the caucus didn't exist. We had Phil Abonte, Adam Kokesh, Dale Kearns, who was running for Senate in the party at that time, and who was the other guy? Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp was Murray Sabrin. I think he was there too. Those are the only people I can think of right now. But yeah, we got a big attendance considering the caucus had really even existed yet. It was just there was an organizing committee consisting of like Mike and myself and a handful of other people, just through sheer willpower managed to close down a city block in front of the Philadelphia Federal Reserve Building and get that done. Now several months later, whatever it was, November, December, I'm just checking my phone one day and I see a notification from Facebook, which is virtually the only social media I had at the time. Michael Heiss invited you to this group called Libertarian Party Mises Caucus. My first reaction was like, what the hell is the Mises Caucus? I'd never heard of it, but that was the first day that he created the group. And it's been a wild ride since then, trying to get like more and more influence in the party and trying to push it in more of that solid messaging direction, and slowly getting to the point that, you know, we thought we were going to have it in 2021 and have more say in the way the Pennsylvania party worked. That didn't quite work out the way we wanted to. There's a whole documentary about that on the Mises Caucus's channel if you're interested, like PA specifically. So then it got put off until 2022, but finally in March of 2022, after what had it been at that point, like 5-6 years of trying, we finally got to the point where we were making more influence in the direction of the party and getting those concrete goals, getting to the point where we could actually make some concrete goals and plans in a way that the previous iterations of the party never had, at least not to the same extent. So, and then as soon as we did that, we jumped right into Reno for the national convention, started making plans and scaling it up. Basically built a Discord server from scratch, did exhaustive reviews of the bylaws, trying to get ready for every possible eventuality, learning more parliamentary procedure than I ever thought I'd learn, buying special equipment just to be able to communicate with everybody on the fly from the convention floor, and just to see it all come to fruition and change the direction of the party forever after years of trying. Just at the beginning, I would have thought you were crazy if you told me that this is how it would end up. So, it's just beautiful to see it all come together.
That was an incredible answer, and I love it. Mine was going to be like, get outside more, take more hikes. Calvin, yours was awesome. I absolutely loved it. Regina, what about you?
God, I have to follow that. I don't know. It's hard for me because like I'm still such a baby libertarian, like as far as being involved, that I don't really feel like I've, done anything other than just like accepted it and tried to integrate it into my life without becoming like psychotic about it, if that makes sense. But I'm just really hoping, I guess, like as a hopeful accomplishment, I'm really hoping, like Calvin said, there's a lot he just sent me a huge list of people. And if there's anyone listening that's interested, I'm just really hoping to build up issue coalitions with these subcommittees of, if there's an issue, like I feel like there's an issue that brought everybody to the party, whether it was just like general, autonomy of the self versus, if it's First Amendment rights, or like Second Amendment rights, or just anything, like whether it's plant medicine, whether it's defending the guard, all those things. Something brought you to here, because I feel like we have a certain pull to people. Like if you're officially joining the Libertarian Party, something, some message from Ron Paul or something about it, brought you here to the party. So I feel like everyone has that core issue that they are very passionate about. So I'm really hoping just to give those people that space with issue coalitions where they can feel like, they can do something within their community, within their district, and give them the tools to do that. So that's kind of like a hopeful accomplishment. That's kind of my, like, going into 2023, what I'm trying to do.
That's awesome. I love it. And I'm very happy that you were able to take the reins from TOURE and from the issue coalitions. I think you're going to do a really great job.
Yeah, that was a hell of a reins to take when I was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've done a really good job with it. In fact, I think you should.
Phil, I know Torrin's not on here, but like Torrin, I hope you understand. Like you set the bar high, which is fantastic because I love a challenge. Like I need to be mentally and physically challenged, and to like feel achieved. Like I feel like if I don't have something that kind of humbles me or makes me a little nervous, like I think that's kind of like with pro wrestling, I feel like that's why I got into it, is like, is this like ridiculous thing to do, and it's so kind of intimidating to everybody. So if I don't like jump into something like that and feel intimidated, I feel like I won't perform to the level I need. So yeah, having those challenges, especially following Torrin on this, was a blessing and a curse, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I think you're going to do a great job. For me, I mean, other than personally getting out, obviously unplugging and doing some more hikes, right? I would really like to help professionalize the organization some more, get us looking and acting and feeling more professional, setting up with these committees, getting people on board, growing the party. And one of the biggest things for me is a lot of the local style legislation. I have about 30 chickens sitting around outside of my barn right now. And luckily, I live in a township that doesn't give a flying crap how many chickens we have. But a lot of our neighboring townships can only have like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 chickens, and noise ordinances and things like that. So that brings me back to like a lot of local legislation that we need to be changing. Because in my opinion, I think we make the most change at a local level. The president doesn't have as much say as what your councilman has. You know what I mean? Like they're the ones that tell you whether you can put a fence up or not. Like a daily life, that's where they live. And I think that's some of the biggest things that we can do. We can start with a lot of that local stuff. The Legislative Action Committee is near and dear to my heart. I love those guys. So seeing some of that stuff and trying to work with some of our local counties and local areas in my county and trying to get some of that stuff pushed out through the state is a really big deal for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good point. That spearheads a lot of what the caucus's focus is on. Like a lot of those local races that have teeth, like we like to put it, like the sheriff or school board, mayor, city council, positions that, have essentially like local jurisdiction, local enforcement action in those areas in a way that can make a difference in something like that, or what's being taught at your schools, and anything in between.
Right. I think we're at a point now, right, where we've done a pretty good job of growing the party. Obviously, we're obviously not to where we want to be, but we're at a point we talk about here in the Mises Caucus about human action, taking human action. We're at the point where we need to stop talking and start taking that action. Start taking that action locally in our communities, getting out there, door knocking, and talking to people, and trying to actually affect positive change in our local communities. That's how we grow more now. That's where we go from here, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll take a point of personal privilege now. I gotta pick something else up.
Yeah, Greg, that's a fantastic point, because I can tell you from like my experience with helping Ross Sylvester, it takes so little of your day to just go do something like putting up door hangers, or like honestly, if I hadn't been working a crazy schedule during election time, like I was literally working like 8 a.m. till 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been at the polls myself. And I can just, if I know sometimes like when we think of like signing up for those things, it's like, oh man, like it's so little of your day, guys, like when it comes down to it, but it helps so much. Like even just 1 or 2 extra people showing up helps so much. So like, please, like for anyone listening that like really wants to do something in the party, like honestly, just showing up and helping with those types of like volunteer things, like that goes so far. Just having a physical body there of somebody who shares the same ideals and has the same passions. So like it sounds intimidating sometimes to sign up to help with that, but I can promise you from experience, it's not as intimidating as your mind think it is. And it's so little of your day. I promise you, it's so little of your day. Like in reality, even 4 hours out of your day, I think that was the longest day we had with like doing like door hangers and stuff. Like it's not a bad gig.
You're absolutely right. Number one, Ross is a wonderful human being. I love Ross to death. And number 2, the small things like signing up to sit at a booth for a petition signing. You know what I mean? That's such a huge thing. But if there's a lot of people taking little steps, we make significant progress. And that's all I can really say is like if you spend an hour a day, or an hour a week, or an hour a month, that's more than what we had previously, and it makes such a huge difference in the long run. As little effort or as much effort as we can get, we will absolutely take, because we are a volunteer organization, and for a while now, it's just been a very small group of people carrying a huge burden. But I think we're finally getting to the point where we're getting these wheels turning with a lot of additional people that are willing and able to help. And it's been a lot of fun to see how the party has grown, despite what some other party caucuses or different parties are saying at this point. I think the Libertarian Party and Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania in particular is doing an excellent job with getting these wheels turning.
Yeah, that's well said. So since you bring it up, I'll just throw this on here briefly. So anybody looking to sign up for the caucus, definitely do so at takehumanaction.com. Once you sign up, one of our organizers will be in touch with you. That could be me or Regina or a handful of others. We're all members of the organizer team. And once you do that, we'll send you our survey and get you paired up with the people that you want to work with. And we'll go from there. I think we've been doing a good job with the Call to Human Action survey that we've been sending out, trying to match people up with where their interests are. And if you did sign up to help us with something already, thank you. We will definitely be in touch with you about that. And if you haven't filled out the survey, then please do. If you don't have the link, then reach out to me and I will make sure that you get it. But I'll interject now with my next choice of beer. So straight from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, we've got Black Rock's 51K IPA.
Okay. I've never had
Michigan
that.
is known for its beer. That's what I've been told I have been up there a handful of times, but I've only been to Marquette, where this is from, once. So looking forward to having another one of these.
So I love Michigan. It's actually one of my favorite states. It's one of the strangest states I've ever been in, but I absolutely love it. The Upper Peninsula is literally like a separate world, and it's really strange considering it's actually connected to Wisconsin, but it's still in Michigan. It's really odd, but they are known to have one of the best beer scenes in the entire country. Besides California.
I actually learned why that happened. So it goes back in the day when states were having these like near life or death struggles about state borders. So Michigan and Ohio are having an existential crisis about the city of Toledo and the area around it. So if you don't know where Toledo is, that is in the northwest corner of Ohio. It's a medium-sized city, and they were fighting over who would have the rights to the city, which of those two states. And eventually they finally reached a compromise where Ohio would get Toledo and Michigan would essentially be compensated by being gifted the Upper Peninsula. So that's how they got it. Yeah. Who do you think got the better end of the deal on that one? Because my vote's Michigan.
Michigan, without a doubt. Have you ever been to Toledo? First of all,
Ohio is the worst.
First of all, Ohio is the worst four-letter word in the English language. I absolutely hate Ohio. Everything about Ohio. Sorry if anybody's from Ohio. Your state sucks. But
the only thing I can really tell you about Ohio is that cops are everywhere if you're trying to do the drive between Pennsylvania and Michigan.
It's flat. Columbus is cool, and that's pretty much it. Being a Pittsburgh fan, screw Cleveland and screw Cincinnati. So
don't go to Ohio.
That's right. Just come right to Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, Butler County, Allegheny County. You're in good shape.
Yeah, or the Panhandle of West Virginia. That's fine too. Just not Ohio.
Yeah. So that Panhandle, the geography of West Virginia is one of the strangest things I've ever seen too. Because if you go through like I-70, right? If you're coming through, you leave like out of Washington, you go into West Virginia. You're in West Virginia for like 7 miles, and then you're in Ohio. It's absolutely insane. That little tiny sliver that goes up between Ohio.
But it's the same thing between PA and Maryland.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, West Virginia is just like that for whatever reason. Like, have you ever been to Harper's Ferry? You can see like 3 states from there almost.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. It's like the same thing, but on the other border.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like the one section of the Appalachian Trail that goes through West Virginia. Because I walked almost the full length of it. That's like the shortest part of the Appalachian Trail in a single state. You can do it in a day easily.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah. Actually, the Appalachian Trail goes... No, that's not the Appalachian Trail. It's the North Country Trail. I'm sorry. That goes from like North Dakota into Vermont or Maine or something like that. That actually comes right through. It's about 20 miles north of me. So I know the Appalachian Trail is one of the big ones.
Yeah, I recently stayed in the Shenandoah Valley near the Appalachian Trail for a little while, and one thing I noticed was that the place where we were staying, it was like a cabin in the middle of a national forest just north of Shenandoah. The thing is, when I say it was literally in the middle of a national forest, I mean literally it was surrounded by national forests. Like you can't build anything. It's just nothing but trails and preserved land all around you. But we are in like a small plot of, privately owned land surrounded by the forest. We just rented the cabin for the weekend, and there were like a couple houses in the area, but that was it. So how they ended up making a national forest with like a small patch of private land in the middle of it, I have no idea, but it exists.
It sounds like a libertarian paradise to me. I mean,
probably.
Yeah, I'm okay
just like
with
a
that.
large swath of keep off this land, and then you're just in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. So George Washington National Forest, if anyone wants to buy land there, you just buy land in the center of it and you're set. Yeah, the funny thing is my friend brought a drone with him, and this is one of those newer drones that has like GPS technology that, can tell you exactly where you're flying it. But he told me that he was afraid to fly it into the national forest, because if he did, as soon as it detected that it was on preserved government property, it would immediately drop out of the sky and fall to the ground. Because it does not let you fly it there, and it like enforces it by just like essentially crashing itself. That's the craziest thing ever. So he was like afraid to do it past like the property, the immediate property of the cabin, because he didn't want to have it. Oh man, crazy things that the Park Service does. Yeah, definitely never would have thought that was possible.
That's a little creepy.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. I was just saying that's a little creepy that like they just have something in place that'll just shut itself down.
You didn't catch that, Greg, did you?
I caught it all, actually. Yeah. That's insane that it would actually shut itself down. I'm not surprised, but that's pretty insane.
That's what scares me about Neuralink. I love Elon.
Maybe that's step one.
I love Elon, but that Neuralink,
not so sure about
that gave me pause. But for now, he's doing some good work. So I don't want to fault him too much. So I do want to end it on a high note, though. So let me think of a good way to end it. So predict something interesting, cool, or funny that you think will happen next year, other than what you might have said already.
I don't want this to happen, but I think DeSantis is going to announce a run. I think even if it's just he also has that kind of like devilish humor about him, just with some of the stuff he's doing, which is phenomenal in Florida. That's why I don't want him to run, is I don't want anything to happen to Florida, because he's doing great stuff down there. But I'm for sure have this feeling in my gut, like, oh, DeSantis is gonna run just to fuck with Trump, just to fuck with them, because DeSantis would win, I think, in a landslide. Like, not that I like, again, want to see those things happen, but I really feel like if anyone has as close to a scary cult following, it's DeSantis. And I really think even if he does it I think it's going to be almost what happened with Trump, where he's like, I'm just going to do it for a joke, and then he's going to end up in the White House and be like, oh, okay, now I have to wear the shitty crown.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of agree with that, but I think that if the Republican Party wants to survive, DeSantis needs to be the front runner instead of Trump. I think the only person that Joe Biden can beat is Donald Trump. Uh, so I think if Trump is a nominee, he's going to end up the Republican Party is going to end up getting beat more than they can absolutely bear, in my opinion. Which actually, my opinion is probably good for the Libertarian Party. But as far as like looking at his Republican standpoint, um, DeSantis or anybody but Trump has to be your nominee, in my opinion. Um, as far as cool or fun or things, I think that we are going to have a local libertarian win a contested race in Pennsylvania in 2023. Not just that, I think we're going to have 10 plus that are going to win local elections in the municipal elections. And I think that's going to be a huge deal and a great springboard going forward.
Yeah, BJ and I were just having that conversation earlier, and definitely shares your optimism in that regard. In fact, he might have even taken it further. So I think that's a good sign when the people who are driving the effort not just have those expectations in terms of like how well we can do, but have the numbers, the resources, and the dedication to back it up.
We're getting good principled libertarians to stand up and run. Even in our special elections that we've just gone through and signed guys up for, we've got 3 really strong candidates, one in the East and 2 in the West, and just seeing that and seeing guys like Ross Sylvester and the work and dedication that he's put in, and some of these other guys have done an excellent job. This is a springboard for us going forward, and we're just going to keep getting these great candidates, and eventually we're gonna break through and we're gonna win some of these elections, and it's going to be really great to see.
Yeah. So I'll make a possibly even bolder prediction. I'll think that I'm going to say that there'll be more defections in local seats from the Republicans and possibly the Democrats to the Libertarian Party. Like we just had one recently, a couple towns over from me in Pendle. We had the borough councilman leave the Republican Party and join the Libertarian Party, and he's an incumbent borough councilman. And I had a conversation with him at our last Bucks County meeting, and if half the stuff he's telling me is true, then the Republicans don't care at all about local candidates. They don't really pay any attention to those races. They don't seem to care much at all about any races below the state house level. They just leave the candidates to fend for themselves, don't really give them much of any support at all. They just don't see the races as worth their time. And if that kind of attitude and disregard for those candidates continues on their part, and we're the ones who are clearly showing them that we're paying attention to them, it's almost inevitable.
I mean, yeah, that's got to be our wheelhouse, right? We understand that we're more than likely not going to win any House seat elections at this point. A lot of it, that's for messaging. Not to say that the special election or something like that, something crazy couldn't happen, but we're at the point where now we're big enough. The Libertarian Party is big enough. We are affecting state and national level politics. So the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to start winning these local elections. We are literally on the precipice of something huge, and we are all here at the beginning of it, and it's going to be phenomenal to see. I cannot wait to watch all of that happen in action.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll just do any final parting words for the new year, with this being our last episode of Take Human Action PA for the year. Just any final parting words you have before we sign off.
Run as a libertarian. Like I'm telling you, like it's so doable. It was so disappointing on election day how many uncontested Like, we could have been in there, and I know we have a drive, and we have kind of like a snowball thing going on with like the Libertarian Party. Like, run as a Libertarian, like, do it, because that's not the only county that's sentiment about. A lot of these other political parties, they don't care. Like, and if you can come to the table and challenge them, like, that's my other thing. Even if you're not a Libertarian right now, however you voted, you better start holding your candidates accountable the way you hold Amazon accountable when your package doesn't hit the door for your overnight shipping.
Exactly.
Like, you need to hold them accountable. And that goes for the Libertarian Party too. Like, that's not like special. It's not like the Libertarian Party gets a pass. Like, if you voted for someone who's in seat right now based on plant medicine and they don't legalize cannabis this year, you better start thinking about what you're actually pushing for. Like, are you just pushing a button, or are you actually pushing for the cause? Because you better start holding all your candidates that you vote for available, like everybody out there. Like, I'm telling you, because if they start feeling that pressure, it's either going to crumble or they're going to step up and have to write the checks that their mouths, like, wrote. So everybody, please just start holding their candidates accountable. Like, if they ran on a specific issue and they've done nothing about that issue, then you better ask for a refund.
Yeah, and definitely sign up at runaslibertarian.com if you're looking to run for office as a libertarian, and we'll get you all the tools and trainings you need. We've got a program set up for that now, and we'll make sure you're covered.
That's great. And Regina, I'm going to kind of piggyback, but in a slightly different way here. My friends from Pennsylvania, get out to convention. We have a lot of great things coming up for convention. We have an entire brand new set of bylaws that we're working on to try to make this party more organized and efficient and proficient. Reach out to your local counties and affiliates. Get involved in something as small as showing up for county meetings. There's so many other things that we can get you involved in, and something that fits what you want to do. Again, we talk about taking human action. It's time for us to actually take that human action. We've been a lot of talk. And we did a great job in 2022 as far as getting out and getting involved and taking over Pennsylvania and taking over the LNC. It's time to start putting those words, and we need to start putting our money where our mouth is. We need to start making these things happen. And it takes every single one of you that showed up to convention and voted and everything to get involved to make this whole thing a success. So I'm asking for your support and your help going forward to try to make this better. Thank you.
Yeah, and the link for that is a little long, so I put that in the comments. But that's the link I just posted at lppa.org/event/2023 LP Pennsylvania State Convention. That is the link to sign up for registration. I'm starting to memorize who the speakers are now. We have Dave Smith coming, Hannah Cox, Shane HAZEL, Maj Toure, among many others. Adam Nutter will be doing comedy, so you definitely want to show up to that. Let's see, what can I wrap with? So yeah, this has been a big year for the caucus, which is mainly what I've been focusing on. We're more organized than ever before. We have more members than ever before, and we're looking at channeling the energy we have into more productive means than ever too, not just being here and talking about the ideas or anything like that. We are taking human action. That's what we're doing. We're running candidates. We're pursuing issue coalitions. We're making a better and better organizing structure in the party. And the more people that join, the better that those efforts can be. And even if you're not sure, just looking to get started, get to know us. The next convention in March, 3rd through 5th, is the best way to get started. So I'll be there. All of us here will be there in Reading, PA. So definitely join us there. Definitely sign up, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you all there.
Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Regina. It's good to see you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Do you have any plugs before we end?
Yeah, I just got the, follow your Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, LPPA.org, the LPPA on Twitter, Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania on Facebook, or you can find me right down there at the Greg O'Deal on Twitter. I'm never on Twitter, but I need to start getting on there more. Thanks.
Regina?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at R Badger with 2 R's and an underscore. We'll drop that in the chat. But yeah, please get at me again if you have any, certain things that you're passionate about, certain causes. I'm looking to collaborate with a lot of people in the community. You don't have to be necessarily even be part of the party. Because that's part of what Issue Coalitions is we're, just coming together for a similar cause. So, please find me. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. Like, send me a message. Like, I would love to hear your thoughts. And, if there's, like I said, something that you're specifically, passionate about, like, please get at me so we can get you involved in Issue Coalitions.
Yeah. And you can find what I'm doing at LP Mises Caucus PA, basically everywhere: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. It's all there. So definitely check us out. And no episode next week. We'll be back again in the new year on, what is that, Thursday of that week? January 5th, we'll have something. So don't know what it is yet, but we'll figure something out. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy your holidays. Have a happy new year. And until 2023, don't forget to take human action. Bye.